A powerful start with a roaring engine, hurtling forward like an arrow through the wind, and then the finish. Gray buggy on a steep hill climb course. The vehicle charges forward with serious momentum, clearing the first incline smoothly. But then, on the second slope, it suddenly loses power, pitches straight up at nearly 90 degrees, and drops into a full loss of control. The two vehicles launch hard right from the start, picking up speed fast. The lead vehicle hits the terrain bump, suddenly loses control, flips 180 degrees, and ends up upside down right on the track. The black SUV charges aggressively up the steep dirt hill in the middle of the forest. The engine roars, the tires spin hard, and the wheels dig into the ground in a dramatic climb. But just as it reaches the most dangerous part of the slope, the vehicle loses momentum and the tires start slipping. The vehicle starts building speed and charges up the steep dirt hill, with the engine roaring in a powerful climb. It makes it more than halfway up the slope smoothly, but right at the most intense moment, the long-legged, it climbs up fairly smoothly at first, but just as the driver tries to throttle out and brake onto the bank, the vehicle suddenly changes its mind and pitches straight up at a full 90 degrees. The orange buggy gets a strong run-up, charging up the dirt hill like a storm and blasting out thick black smoke. The landing comes down on the roof, leaving the vehicle upside down right next to the bushes. The blue SUV performed a spectacular acceleration, and this was the result. The SUV flipped over and lay upside down on the muddy ground. The gray Jeep SUV was taking on a challenging off-road climb, trying to crawl over a steep and dangerous rock ledge. The buggy revved hard and shot up the nearly vertical hill in the darkness, looking like it was about to reach the top when it suddenly lost momentum, stalled for a split second, and then tumbled several times back down the slope. The green Jeep marked began the rock crawling challenge quite carefully. As the vehicle reached the top of the rock pile, the driver suddenly hit the gas hard, causing the two front wheels to lift straight up. The gray buggy continued with an extremely intense rock climbing challenge. The vehicle roared and accelerated hard up the vertical rock wall in the forest. As a result, the buggy tipped over to the left, rolled 1.5 times, and ended up lying in the dirt rut below. The buggy revved its engine to full throttle, hurtling up a high mound of earth, soaring into the air at a dizzying height. The gray buggy pulled off an extremely reckless jump. The vehicle carved through the turn, revved hard, causing it to lose control and tumble several times back down the hill. The gray buggy had an extremely heart-stopping rock climbing attempt right beside the river. The buggy flying an American flag revved hard and charged up the steep embankment. The hard impact at high speed sent the truck flying into the air, flipping 2.5 times before crashing violently into the bushes and landing upside down. The dark blue buggy was trying to get over an obstacle made of huge tires, flipped backward, and ended up stuck upside down in the tire pile, with smoke pouring out everywhere. The black buggy lost its balance while climbing the steep slope, flipped onto its roof, and then rolled 1.5 times down the hill in a thick cloud of dust. The black buggy charged up the vertical rock face, but then lost momentum, flipped upside down, and tumbled several times back down to the bottom of the slope, with one wheel being torn off and thrown clear. Red and black SUV was trying to crawl up a narrow dirt slope in the forest when it suddenly lost momentum. The black Jeep cleared the tire obstacle and then charged up a high embankment. But just as it reached the top, the vehicle suddenly lost support, flipped backward onto its roof, and overturned into a dangerous pit filled with dirt and rocks. The orange-red Jeep charged up the snowy slope, then suddenly reared straight up, flipped onto its roof, and fell backward into the pit. The buggy raced down from the top of the slope at high speed, then lost control, slammed into the dirt wall on the left. The black buggy revved hard and charged up the vertical rock face, but suddenly lost momentum and flipped backward in a full roll before landing fairly solidly back on all four wheels. The red and blue buggy tried to climb a steep embankment but lost momentum, flipped backward onto its roof. The purple and black buggy tried to charge up a steep dirt embankment, but it lost momentum, reared straight up at a 90-degree angle, then flipped backward onto its roof. The silver SUV revved its engine, hurtling off the top of the sand dune and soaring into the air, but a bad landing caused it to flip over and come to a stop in the middle of the desert. The buggy blasted through the inflatable gate at high speed, but then suddenly caught on something. The gray and black off-road vehicle raced through the mud pit and accelerated up the grassy hill, but it lost momentum at the top of the slope and flipped onto its roof. The cream-white Jeep tried to accelerate up the rough dirt slope, but it suddenly lost control, rolled over several times into the deep drop beside it, and dragged a thick cloud of dust along with it. The black buggy revved hard and charged up the steep sandy cliff, but near the top it lost momentum, flipped backward, and rolled several times all the way down to the bottom of the slope. The yellow and black buggy lost momentum just before reaching the top of the sandy hill, then flipped backward and tumbled several times down the slope, shedding a few parts before finally coming to rest on its side. The white and blue off-road pickup blasted over a steep dirt mound, launched high into the air, causing it to bounce backward and flip over upside down with all four wheels in the air right on the course. The off-road racing pickup revved up and tried to clear a narrow dirt trench, but the rear wheels slipped, causing the truck to flip backward and overturn into the pit. The red and white buggy lost its balance while descending a steep rock face, pitched forward into a full flip, and ended up upside down, wedged between the rocks. The black buggy sped up from the valley toward the top of the sand dune, leaping high before flipping over and landing with all four wheels pointing skyward. The maroon off-road vehicle tried to rev hard and climb the steep rock face, but it lost momentum, flipped backward, and ended up overturned with all four wheels in the air. The maroon off-road pickup revved hard and tried to climb the muddy slope, but because the ground was too slippery, the truck lost traction, stalled, and flipped upside down into the dirt pit beside it. The black Jeep lost momentum just before reaching the top of the steep sand dune, rolled over once on the way down, but luckily managed to regain balance and came to a stop on all four wheels. The off-road race truck blasted over the dirt bump and launched high into the air, but it pitched nose first on landing and crashed badly, tumbling multiple times and throwing off parts before finally coming to a stop. The steel frame buggy was climbing the slippery dirt slope when it lost momentum, slid backward, and flipped upside down into the deep pit below in a thick cloud of dust. The purple buggy charged up the steep dirt embankment, flipped backward, and crashed upside down with all four wheels in the air right in front of a spectator. The gray off-road vehicle was trying to climb to the top of a steep dirt hill while a crowd of spectators watched nearby. Just before reaching the top, the vehicle lost momentum, rolled backward, then flipped over once and landed upside down at the bottom of the slope. The olive green off-road vehicle revved hard and tried to power through the mud pit to climb a steep dirt wall. But just before reaching the top, it lost momentum, slid back down, and flipped upside down into the muddy water below. The buggy lost momentum near the top of the steep slope, flipped backward in a full rollover, then slid back down, but fortunately landed on all four wheels. The black buggy tried to climb the steep sandy wall, but it lost momentum and tumbled several times back down, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. The yellow and red off-road vehicles both launched high into the air off two dirt mounds, but the red one landed nose first and tumbled several times. The gray modified off-road pickup tried to power up a tall dirt embankment. However, because the slope was too steep, the truck suddenly reared up, lost balance, flipped backward, and rolled multiple times down the slope into the deep mountainside below. The gray buggy accelerated hard up a tall, slippery dirt hill in the forest. Just before reaching the top, it lost momentum and began sliding backward freely, then tumbled several times down to the bottom of the slope and ended up upside down right beside a muddy water pit. The black off-road vehicle tried to rev hard and climb over a large rock ledge. After the front wheels had already made it over, the vehicle lost momentum, rolled backward, and flipped upside down into the rocky hollow below. The red buggy accelerated hard up the top of the sand hill and launched extremely high into the air in front of a crowd of spectators. On landing, the vehicle lost balance and tumbled several times across the sand, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. The black off-road vehicle was speeding through the forest when it hit an obstacle while cornering, sending the entire front end flying vertically into the air. The blue buggy was trying to climb a rough dirt embankment, but when it hit an obstacle at a tight turn, the vehicle suddenly reared up. The black buggy plunged straight down a deep rocky ravine in the forest. Due to the steep slope, the vehicle flipped forward once, crashing violently into a large tree trunk, and then overturned before the driver accelerated and managed to regain control. The monster truck launched high over the dirt ramp, but it landed badly on its two rear wheels, causing it to lose balance and roll over several times across the arena. The black Jeep tried to power up a steep rock face, but it lost momentum, rolled backward, and flipped upside down below. The white SUV was climbing a narrow dirt slope at night when its right side wheels slipped up the embankment, causing the vehicle to lose balance and flip over into the ditch. The pink SUV accelerated hard and launched over the dirt jump on the track, but on landing, the vehicle lost balance, rolled over several times toward the roadside, and kicked up a huge cloud of dust. The black SUV sped high into the air over the open field, but a bad landing caused it to lose balance and flip over before landing upside down. The camouflaged SUV tried to climb a steep rocky slope, but it suddenly reared up vertically and flipped backward. After rolling back onto all four wheels, the vehicle continued sliding down the rocky slope below and eventually flipped upside down. The purple pickup truck was climbing a tall dirt slope when it suddenly lost momentum, reared straight up, flipped backward, and slid down into the dirt trench. The black buggy accelerated hard across the sandhill and launched high over a steep ridge, causing the vehicle to pitch straight upward, tumble several times. The white pickup truck tried to power up a rough and dangerous rocky slope. However, it lost momentum, its wheels slipped, and it rolled backwards several times all the way down to the bottom of the hill. The buggy tried to accelerate up a narrow dirt slope in the forest, but its left side wheels slipped up the side of the embankment, causing the vehicle to lose balance and flip upside down into the dirt trench below. The green SUV with the word Safari on it was trying to make its way along a steep, narrow, rocky slope. However, it lost momentum and traction. The gray buggy tried to climb a tall dirt hill but lost momentum and started sliding backward. It then struck a tree stump behind it, which jolted the front end upward and caused the vehicle to tip over onto its right side. The black buggy was climbing a tall dirt hill in the forest when it lost momentum, slid backward, then flipped over backward and ended up upside down at the bottom of the slope. The black buggy tried to climb a tall, rough dirt hill in the forest, but it lost momentum and started sliding backward. Mome. The gray camo buggy was climbing a steep rock slope when it suddenly lost momentum, reared up, and then flipped backward multiple times down the hill. The black and white buggy charged up a tall dirt hill, lost momentum, and then flipped backward multiple times down to the bottom of the slope. The red buggy blasted over the top of the sand dune at high speed, launched into the air, and then tumbled several times down the sandy slope on the other side.